Welcome everyone to this session. It's lovely to have you here, whether that's live or watching on catch up. So welcome, and a particular welcome if you're new to FitFish. If we've met before, it's lovely to see you again. If you're new, then a big warm welcome. So we're going to be looking today at the topic of losing weight without dieting and with God in the center. There'll be a chance for questions at the end, so do make a note of them. That would be great. I will keep an eye on the chat box as well as they flash up if needs be. If there's any problems with sound or screen, vision, anything, then if you could unmute and let me know, that would be fantastic. Okay, so we're going to be looking at 3 of my secrets. So secret number 1, how to avoid the roller coaster of emotions. Secret number 2, the number 1 factor that most people don't consider. And secret number 3, my top tip for finding freedom in your eating. And if you stay until the end of this live webinar, so those who are watching later on recording, I'm afraid you won't get this, but if you're on live, then I've got a present for you at the end. So do you ever feel like you've been on a diet for most of your life? Possibly not on a diet for most of your life, but definitely flipping between being on a diet, off a diet. Do you wish that you could find the answer to losing weight without being obsessed about it, and that you could just stop thinking about it and sort it out? Like you just want to live and eat normally, but be a little bit healthier. Like you just want to live and eat normally, but be healthier and lighter too, if you're honest. But you just don't know how to get there. You've tried various different things. They might work for a little bit, but then they stop working, or you just can't keep up with them, or you try and be healthy, but actually it doesn't really seem to be doing much. You just don't know the way to go with this. You want some guidance, you want some encouragement, so that you know what to do, and so that it can happen for you and you can stop doing this whole dieting thing. So in this masterclass, I'm going to reveal 3 secrets that have helped me to break free from dieting. So before we start, it's good to focus if you can. I know for some of you, the only chance that you'll get to listen to this is if you're doing something else at the same time. That's fine. But if you are able to switch off other distractions, then it'll be really beneficial for you. So do you ever feel like other people can just eat what they want and be healthy and happy, but you can't? You've tried. You see other people all around you who seemingly don't struggle in this area, and you just think you're different. This is what you have to live with, and you just wish you could eat what you wanted to when you wanted to, but you can't. And it's annoying and frustrating that you can't and other people can. But I promise that you can 100% be in that position too. I know, because I've been there. I've been on every diet under the sun. I've really been frustrated with my weight. I've really struggled, and I've really came to think that it was my lot in life. I remember even at secondary school, other kids would be having, chips and beans and pasties and pies, and I would spend my lunch money on a jacket potato and salad because I believed, that would make me slim, but yet it never happened. And I just felt, even from that young age, I was striving to be slim and to be healthy, but it just wasn't happening. And it wasn't fair because everyone else around me seemed to be able to eat what they wanted to, and I couldn't. And I just came to believe that it was just what I had to deal with in life. But thankfully, God led me out of that and taught me a lot of things. And now I can eat what I want to when I want to. So I promise that it's not reserved for the special few. You can 100% be free in this area. So my mission now is to support, encourage, and motivate people like you to lead a healthier, balanced life and to gain freedom in this area. So my question is, would you love to be one of them? So who am I? So like I mentioned, I struggled with my weight and health in my childhood, my teens, and my 20s. I'm now a personal trainer and nutritional advisor. I'm studying for an MSc in clinical nutrition. I'm the founder of FitFish, which supports Christians with the balance in physical, spiritual, and emotional health. And I'm an eating, cravings, habits, and behaviors expert. And I created Healthy, Whole and Free, which is a 12-week online course. And I inspire, motivate and support Christians just like you to gain a healthier balance in body, spirit and soul. I've spoken at various Christian events on the radio, and I write for magazines as well. And I've helped hundreds, probably need to add a zero to that now. I've probably helped thousands of people break free in this area. I've done over 728 presentations and teachings. I've delivered 61 retreats, and I've coached 207 people. I've done a lot of things right on this journey, but I've also done a lot of things wrong. And I hope that by wrapping up all the learnings that I've had, I've done a lot of the hard work so you don't have to, so I can pass on what I've learned to you and make things easier and simpler. So what do I mean by dieting? Well, I mean any kind of system, any plan where you have to follow rules or restrictions. Sometimes it is right to be on a diet. If you've been advised to lose weight urgently or quickly for an operation or for health reasons, and you're on a supervised diet given by your GP or other medical professionals, sometimes it might be right for a season of your life to be on a diet. But I'm mostly talking to people who have half a stone up to several stone to lose and have just struggled with it. It's not urgent, but it does pose a bit of a health risk, perhaps, if it carries on. But if you've been told to be on a specific diet, then please stick with that. So secret number one, how to avoid the roller coaster of emotions. So it can feel so frustrating, can't it? So annoying, so disappointing. It can just take over your life a little bit. And you know that we're meant to give everything to God and not worry about these kind of things. But actually, in reality, it does affect the way that we live day to day. And one of the big things that can affect us is the scales and how much we weigh. It feels like a bit of a judgment on us. And sometimes we can be trapped where we're just thinking about the scales and the numbers all the time. I certainly remember when I was doing Weight Watchers, how I'd turn up for the weigh-in and I'd be wearing the same clothes that I always wore, some nice light trousers, a vest top, even if it was freezing. I'd go to the toilet, of course, that goes without saying. I'd even take my hair bobble out. I'd perhaps not eat or just eat something really light in volume before I went, and I maybe wouldn't have had a drink for a few hours just in case it showed up. And I don't know if you can relate to this, but you think you've had a good week. You feel like you've had a good week, and you get on the scales and you're hoping for maybe a couple of pounds, maybe 3, maybe that magic 4 that just feels amazing. And you step on the scales and boom, half a pound on. Oh my goodness. Can anyone relate to that, where you just go from feeling hopeful and excited and happy to feeling disappointed in a split second because the scales don't tell you what you think they were going to tell you, and it can be so disappointing and so frustrating. 100%. Yeah. Oh, hi Rebecca, no worries. Yes, so lots of people relating to that there, and it's frustrating, isn't it? It just gets us in such this place. And my secret number one really is to make the weight the byproduct, not the focus. What do you want the scales to tell you? When you're getting on the scales at weigh-in or whenever you weigh yourself at home, what are you looking for from the scales? Is it reassurance that you're on the right path, that you're doing the right thing, that you're making an impact to your health? Is it affirmation? Yes, you're doing good, you're doing good. Is it the accountability of knowing that you're weighing in, so therefore having to watch what you eat and eat a certain way to make sure you please the scales? Or is it encouragement? Now, go on, keep going, you've got this, you've got this. How often do they give you that? In reality, how often do the scales give you what you're looking for? Are you better to get these things from your friends, from your family, from different support groups, and from speaking to God rather than from the scales? because we need to remember what the scales are actually telling us. So the scales are actually giving us our gravitational pull on the earth. And this might be relevant if we walk along the street and instead of saying, hi, how are you? Yes, fine, how are you? We actually picked people up and said, hi, how are you? Oh, you've put on a bit. Hi, how are you? Then it might be a little bit relevant. But the reality is we're not really interested in our gravitational pull on the earth. What we're really interested in is whether we're healthy and what we look like, if we're honest. But the gravitational pull measures our brain. It measures the weight of all of our internal organs, measures the weight of food undigested in our body, but also digested food, measures the weight of water in our body. And our bodies are made up of 60 to 70% water. So that's a lot of room for error. And that's why the scales can be really unpredictable sometimes. I don't know if you've ever weighed heavy and thought, that's just weird. That's just weird. I feel a little bit bloated, I feel heavy. And then you weigh again, even a few hours later sometimes, and it's gone. And that shows you the unpredictability of the scales. And it's just a snapshot. Your body doesn't know it's about to get weighed. So it might be hanging on to water because you haven't drunk enough. It might be holding on to lots of water because you've drunk lots of water. It might not have digested the food yet and it's still sat in your stomach. It just doesn't know you're about to get weighed. It doesn't know that it's a thing. No problem at all. It's just a snapshot at that moment in time. And if we don't really talk about luck that much, but it's just luck, whether you catch it at a weight that you would be happy with or not. So are you making decisions to please the scales or decisions to please your health? What can you do instead? So if you like numbers, if you like the scales, you've got a fairly good relationship with them, they don't affect you too much, then could you just weigh yourself a little less often? And instead of being worried about where it sits every time you weigh, just track the general trend, maybe do a bit of a graph, a bit of a plot. Or my favorite is to take a piece of string or a computer cable, which I often do because it's just there, and put it around your waist by your belly button, so it's always in the same place, and cut it. Not if it's a computer cable, but if it's a piece of string, cut it, so that then you can come back to that in a couple of weeks and just see if it's any looser, or you can make a mark on something so you can see if it's changed. And that can be really encouraging because our waist measurement is quite a good indicator of our health as well. Can you go by clothes? Jeans aren't very forgiving. So if you've got a pair of snug jeans, can you just use those as a little bit of a benchmark, or the mirror? And then these things don't then give you this kind of black and white line. You're not suddenly going to be like, oh, no, I suddenly can't fit into my jeans. It will be a bit of more of a gradual thing, a bit of more of a gradual realization. And these things can also offer you lots of encouragement. So is there something else that you can do? Can you please your health and not the scales? Because your weight, if you're meant to lose weight, and if that's God's desire that you're a bit lighter, guess what? It will happen. When you reach out to him, when you trust, when you put health as a priority, not the scales, then that will fall into place. And what's your magic number anyway? Who said that you need to be a certain weight? If you've ever been to a slimming club, I expect that you can still remember what your goal weight is. You can probably still remember your lowest weight. You can probably remember your highest weight. We're quite obsessed with these numbers, but what is your magic number anyway? I remember when I was 10 at school being weighed, and they used all of our weights to teach us about mean, mode, and median. I really wish that they'd chosen another measurement, because I still remember that, because I was the heaviest kid in the class and it wasn't very pleasant. And I just remember being told really by the teachers as they were illustrating their points that most 10-year-olds weigh this. 10-year-olds should weigh around this. And who says? I've always weighed heavier than I look. I've always weighed about a stone heavier than I look. I don't actually know how much I weigh. I haven't weighed myself probably for about 2 years, but I can give you a guess. And I think I would be about a stone heavier than you think. I actually sit just into the overweight category. And I've always weighed heavier than people who are a similar size to me. It's just the way it is. So who says what your magic number is anyway? So we need to change our aim. Is it to be a certain weight, or is it to be healthy? You'll know if you're on track to becoming healthier. You'll just know if you're getting healthier day by day. We need to change our lens and be balanced in body, spirit, and soul. So all of us, after this session is finished, could reach for a chocolate bar. And for some of you, that will be a completely balanced decision. Someone bought a chocolate bar yesterday. You haven't had one of those for ages. You quite fancy it. You're saving it to have after your lunch. Balanced, healthy decision. For others, it could be the 8th chocolate bar that you've eaten today, or you could have been dreaming about this chocolate bar for 3 weeks. Maybe not quite so balanced. So that it's not so much about the food. It's about our attitudes towards it and whether those things have bondage over us, and different behaviors as well. So after this session, I could go out for a 60-minute walk. Now that could be balanced in body, spirit, and soul, as in haven't had a walk yet today. I won't get another chance to. I just want to wind down after a busy morning of work, get a breath of fresh air. Balanced decision. Or it could be, oh my goodness, I had a takeaway last night. I think I've roughly calculated I had 800 calories more than I needed. Therefore, if I go out for 60 minutes, I'll hopefully burn about 400 if I walk really fast. And then if I don't have dinner, it'll be okay. You see, same action, completely unbalanced. So it's not so much about what you're doing. You can have your cake and eat it and it be a balanced decision, or you can have your cake and eat it and it's unbalanced. And this takes practice. It just takes analyzing each decision that you make as you go and thinking, was that a balanced decision or not? And if it wasn't, then learning from it. Run every decision through your new filter. Are you doing something to please your health, or are you doing something to please the scales? And also we can get a little bit frustrated when we don't get results quickly. And that's a little bit of the problem with healthy living. I remember wishing when I was younger that if I ate a chocolate bar, it would straight away go somewhere and I would see it. Like literally I'd see some fat growing, because then I thought maybe I wouldn't do it. And what we want is instant gratification and instant reward. We want the dopamine hit that we get from getting on the scales and realizing we've lost weight. That's why we do it. That's why we do it. We don't get on the scales to feel rubbish. We get on the scales because we want that hit. And similarly, if you're on your phone and you get a little notification on Facebook or a text, you get that little ooh. And that's what we're looking for when we are on this journey. We want some rewards, but they are a bit slower to come by. We want to feel rewarded, like it's worth it for these changes that we're making, but they're just not instant in this realm of living. They will come. And you will get to a place where they feel more instant. If you go out for a walk or you go out for some exercise, you'll instantly feel the benefit and you'll be really glad that you did it. But that might not happen straight away. You might eat a salad and feel, actually, that really did you good. You're so glad you did, because you don't get a kind of sugar drop afterwards or anything. You might get that instant reward, but initially you might not. So it can be really disheartening. And that's perhaps one of the reasons we turn to the scales, to get that bit of a dopamine hit. But we need to make our own reward system. We need to shorten that reward cycle to help us to carry on making decisions that benefit our health. So what can you do to reward yourself when you make healthy decisions? Can you save some money in a pot? Can you call a friend? Can you have a little support group on WhatsApp where if you make a healthy decision for your lifestyle, you get lots of emojis of people and lots of encouragement? How would it work for you to reward yourself? In my membership program, we sometimes talk about making your own loyalty card. So setting up perhaps a little separate account on your phone app, on your banking app, and every time you perhaps don't have something, because it's hard to get a reward from not having something. So if you're trying to cut down on the amount of caffeine you drink, then where's the reward? Where's the reward going to come from instantly? When you do that, it's not really, it's going to come later. But say you put 50p into your account every time you didn't have a cup of coffee, or if you're buying them out, £2.50, something like that, and build up your own little loyalty account that goes towards something that you've got in mind, like a piece of clothing or piece of jewelry or something like that. So if you've made a difference to your body, spirit, and soul and health that day, then celebrate, reward yourself. Some people in my group even put stickers into their diary just to get that little hit, it's a bit like ticking things off a to-do list, just to get that little bit of satisfaction. Your goal is to progress. It's nothing else. We're on this for life. It's a journey. Progress, not perfection. We just aim to gradually get healthier in our decision making, and our bodies then follow. It's a lifelong journey. Your goal isn't to run a marathon, it's to become a runner. The goal isn't to have one good night's sleep, it's to sleep better. The goal isn't to give up chocolate, it's to eat better. Okay, so I hope you're still with me. Secret number 2. The number one factor that most people don't consider. So how often have you said, people say this to me all the time, and even in the response to the email that was sent out prior to this webinar, people say, I've just got no willpower, I've just got no motivation. How often have you said that? I've just got no willpower, I can't do it, I've got no motivation. Sometimes when I'm out with friends and I want to have something that's healthy, people will say to me, oh, you're so good. Oh, your willpower is so strong, you're so motivated. And it's like, nah, not really. You get, what are you going to say the opposite if I had a piece of cheesecake? Like, it's just what I wanted to do. And willpower and motivation does come and go. And so there's something better that we can use to help us. It can feel like everything's a bit of a struggle sometimes. You just can't get started, or you just can't carry on. But we live in an obesogenic society. Things aren't easy in this arena for us at all. Fast and convenience foods are everywhere. You might not think of it as a fast and convenient food, but they're everywhere. They're in supermarkets, in petrol stations, they're at your church, and when you go and have your coffee, they're at parties. It's absolutely everywhere, where you don't expect as well. I always remember Joyce Meyer talking about going into a furniture shop to buy a sofa, and they were giving out donuts. Like, it's everywhere. And manufactured taste. So in nature, there's nothing that combines sugar and fat. The only exception to this is milk, which some people might say isn't made for our drinking, but that's another point. It's only milk. If I was to hand around a bowl of sugar and give you a teaspoon, say, go for it, have as much as you want, you might not even manage a teaspoon. And if I was to do the same with butter, you might not be able to have much butter either. But if I was to mix the sugar and the butter together, now we're talking cake mixture, yum, yum. And this is what manufacturers do. They find the perfect combination of sugar and fat and salts, and they put them together so that once you start, you can't stop. So next time you think you've got no willpower or motivation, remember these things. These are multi-billion industries who want more of our money. They want us to buy these things. They make them taste really, really good. It isn't that you lack willpower or motivation. There's so much advertising as well. Someone at our weekend retreat last weekend said that an advertiser's dream, they see something, they want it. We're surrounded by that. And pressure sometimes from other people when you're out is go on, have one, go on, you want to. And food, of course, for us is much more related to emotions than it used to be. I took my son to the doctor for his injections, and he was given a milk button, no questions really asked, but here's a milk button. Oh, it's painful, let's cover it up, let's distract you with chocolate. And that's what we've grown up with, and that's what we used to. So all those things are increasing. And these things as well. So we move less because there's cars, there's public transport, there's remote controls. You don't even need to go and turn over the TV channel. You can do it from the comfort of your sofa. Internet, how that's meant that we don't need to move quite as much as we did. And machinery to do jobs for us. I always think it would be funny to talk to someone from 100 years ago, 150 years ago, and say to them, in 150 years' time, people are going to go to these buildings called gyms. You're like, okay, what do they do there? Well, they go on this machine that they can walk or run on, and they go on another machine where they can push and pull, and then there's these things called weights that you can lift around, and they'll be like, well, we do all that anyway. It's like, yeah, they did do all that anyway, but we've inconvenienced ourselves out of exercise. We've almost convenienced ourselves out of exercise because we've made all these things that make our lives more convenient. And yeah, it's meant that we've squeezed it out. And of course, there's the danger element as well. We might not go out and about as much as we did because we're perhaps nervous about going out in the dark and things like that. So our food intake has gone up. Our movement's gone down, and it's no surprise that we've gone outwards. So next time, remember this, your willpower and your motivation has less to do with it than you think. So, and we're surrounded by these kind of things. So when I was younger, McDonald's fries came in a small white paper bag. Does anyone else remember that? But I never see those around anymore. I don't go in McDonald's, but I see these red cartons in the streets and people walking around with them. I don't see anyone with little white bags anymore. And when you want a chocolate bar, sometimes if I'm in a service station or petrol station, I just fancy a little bit of chocolate after I've had my lunch, something like that. You can't really buy a little bit of chocolate anymore. Even Milky Ways, which used to be quite a small little bar to enjoy, they now come in 2 packs. And it's crazy. Everything's got bigger. Everything's gone to sharing size, which isn't necessarily shared. And all you can eat buffets are all over the place. So it's not just you. There's something that can be more helpful instead. What has changed in the last 2,000 years? Do you think it's our motivation? Do you think it's our willpower that's got less and less and less and less? Or is it that we feel like we're walking a little bit through treacle and it's our environment that's really, really changed? And this is the key. This is one of my secrets, is that we can change our environment back again as much as we can, and it makes it easier. And it means that there's a path of less resistance. You're not then having to conquer these hurdles all the time. Make your environment, both internally and externally, as helpful as possible, and then it will be easier to live a healthier lifestyle. So in the external environment, if you want to introduce a healthy habit, you can make it more obvious. So say you want to have fruit after your lunch instead of chocolate, then you can put some fruit by where you have lunch. You can have fruit on the table. You can make it more attractive by choosing fruit that you like, or maybe fruit that you haven't tried before. You can make it easier by chopping up fruits at breakfast time or at the beginning of the week, whatever it is, or having frozen berries in the freezer to put on your porridge in the morning or to put on your yogurt after lunch. How can you make it more obvious, more attractive and easier and more satisfying? So the first 3 encourage us to try a new habit, but the last one makes us continue this new habit. So it has to be satisfying. There has to be some kind of reward, otherwise we won't want to do it again. And our brain will look for these paths that give us reward. And if it finds one, it will do it again. So how can you make it satisfying? Don't have the fruit you don't enjoy. Don't have it in a way you don't enjoy it. Make it satisfying. So how can you change your environment so that you see things more obviously? Your trainers are by the door. Your workout gear is something that you want to put on. You listen to a certain podcast when you step out the door that you only do when you go on a walk. sometimes when I go for a run on a Saturday morning, and sometimes I'm a bit like, it'd be quite nice to sit in bed with a cup of tea, because that's also the only chance I get to do that. But then I think, oh no, the thought of putting my headphones in and getting to listen to a podcast that I really enjoy takes me there. So how can you make things more obvious, more attractive, easier, and more satisfying? And the opposite is also true. If you want to stop doing something, how can you make it less obvious, less attractive, harder, and less satisfying? So a book I was reading about this, one guy didn't want to watch as much television. So he needed to make it less obvious, less attractive, harder, and less satisfying. So he actually ended up putting the television in an upstairs cupboard. And when he wanted to watch it, he had to go and get it out and plug it in. Now that's going to quite an extreme. There was also someone else who wired their television up to an exercise bike, and it would only power on when they pedaled. So it's less attractive. It's harder to put it on. Now, those are quite extreme, but sticking with the television example, can you hide your remote control? Not necessarily hide it, but put it somewhere where you don't find it straight away. Can you, as you turn the television on, say what you're about to watch? So no scrolling around, but just, I am turning the television on to watch this. Can you make habits that you want to change? Can you make them less obvious, less attractive, harder, less satisfying? So if there's things in your kitchen that you find yourself nibbling on all the time, what can you do? You can put them somewhere else. You can maybe take them out of their packaging and put them in a plain box. How often have you put things in a tin or Tupperware and forgotten they're there? Can you do that? Can you put it in 3 tins so it's harder to open? Can you make it less satisfying by perhaps cleaning your teeth, so that when you go hunting for something, when you try it, it's not quite as satisfying? And what about your internal environment? So the sugar cycle has an awful lot to answer for. I think if I took away all of your cravings, then you would find healthy living a lot easier. And a lot of our cravings are brought about because of the sugar cycle. So when we eat sugar, insulin gets released in our body to kind of mop up the sugar and turn it into energy. But when this happens, our blood sugar levels dip, and then our body starts craving more sugar because we've had a dip in our blood sugar levels. So we keep eating sugar, and the cycle continues. So when you get the post-lunch slump, or kind of 3 o'clock slump in the afternoon, and you feel like you just need sugar, what's probably happened is previously you have eaten some sugary, starchy food that has turned into sugar in your blood quite quickly, and now you're craving more. And if we took that away, you might be surprised how much less you crave those certain foods. So you can improve the sugar cycle, and you can make your blood sugars go on a more even keel by making sure that you eat whole grains and proteins and fats. Of course, still eat sugar if that's what you want to do and that's what you enjoy. But perhaps think about whether you're eating it standing out on its own, because that could send your blood sugar soaring and then crashing. Perhaps you have your pudding and your dessert or your piece of chocolate after your meal, or with something else that would keep your blood sugar levels a bit more stable. And if you practice those things, you might be very surprised that actually things that were appealing before aren't quite as appealing, and you can give or take them. Give or take. Yeah, that's the word. There's also the UPF cycle, which is the ultra processed food cycle. So ultra processed foods are those things that have got lots of ingredients in, that are packaged. Perhaps they've got a long shelf life, things like fizzy drinks, burgers, processed meats, chips, cakes, pastries, biscuits, ultra processed foods. And these things contain lots of sugar and starch normally. And when you eat these things, it's been proven that they make you want to eat more of these things. So again, if you find yourself eating lots of takeaways, lots of processed foods, and you crave more of them, then this could be why. There was a doctor on television who ate McDonald's as a trial. He ate McDonald's for a whole month. And he, of course, put on weight, but his mood changed. He craved more and more and more sugary, starchy, fatty foods. And it took him a long time actually to get back to a way of healthy eating, because his body was fighting against him. Even though he knew in his head he wanted to get back to a healthier way of eating, his body was just calling out for more and more processed food. So have a think. Are you in a bit of a sugar cycle? Are you in a little bit of an ultra processed food cycle? And do some experiments. Everyone's different. Everyone's body responds differently to different foods. So listen to your body. If you get a 3 o'clock slump, think back to what your lunch was. If you feel very lethargic after lunch sometimes, what did you have? After breakfast, are you hungry by 10 o'clock? What did you have for breakfast? So listen to your body and notice the changes. And also, it's really helpful to have intrinsic motivations that are strong. And sometimes we're frightened, or we don't feel that God's listening to us in this area of our life, but God knows you and wants you to talk to him about everything. So if you can really build these intrinsic motivation muscles, that will really help your internal environment too. So do you believe that God wants you to be healthy? Do you believe that he wants you to be whole? And do you believe that he wants you to be free in this area? I think for lots of people, this is often what holds them back, is they don't actually really believe that. So their environment isn't very helpful. And you can keep feeding this with Bible verses, with time with God, talking to others about it. Okay, number 3. My top tip for finding freedom in your eating: blur the boundaries so that you're happier and more comfortable. Have you ever said, I've fallen off the wagon, or I've had a good day, or I've had a bad day, or I'm going to get back onto it, or I'm getting back on track? I hear it so often. If you've been around FitFish for a while, and if you've done the Healthy, Whole and Free course or in the Forever program, this kind of language now will probably jar against you, because there shouldn't be any such thing as this. You fall off your wagon because it's too small, it's too uncomfortable, it's not fit for purpose. So we need to make our wagon, because we're on it for life, comfortable, roomy, work for us, and personal to us, because it is our lifestyle. It needs to just become your normal way of eating. You're here because you don't want to be on and off diets. You don't want to keep struggling in this area. And we need it just to be a lifestyle. And you've probably heard that before, but you do need to be happy with it to stay on it. So to make sure that you don't have these black and white days where you've been good, where you've been bad, when you're on it, when you're off it. So you don't want any regimes. One of the ladies in my group, she says she was went from one regime to another, but now she just says she's accepted it. What she says is slowly slim the monkey, and she's just accepted it's a slow journey where you're just tweaking things a little bit at a time, so it's yours and it doesn't feel weird, and you end up eating what you want when you want to. So no diet, and much more leisurely and comfortable. Because the problem is, whatever you set yourself up with now will become your framework that you live against for the future. So whether that's not eating after a certain time, or not eating this with this, or only having a certain amount of points, anything that you then do that's outside of that, you'll probably get a bit of guilt about, or you'll feel that you failed, or you're on the wagon or off the wagon. So you need your framework to be roomy. What do you want it to look like? Because any kind of tight restriction, it just doesn't work in the bigger picture of things. Often people say, I'm not going to have bread for a month, or cheese, or crisps, or chocolate, or sugar. And sometimes I think that diet stands for, I didn't intend to eat that, but I did. And then you feel rubbish, you feel like a failure, you messed up, you've ruined it, and there's no point. And God doesn't want you to feel any of that. That's not what he designed. It's all about the bigger picture. It's not about your birthday, Christmas, the week's holiday that you had, that second biscuit that you had the other day at coffee. It's about the bigger picture. And actually, it's like a game of snakes and ladders. So you're only off the game if you throw the board away. If you go down a little snake, it doesn't matter. You're still in the game, and you learn from that snake and you look for the next ladder. And that's really important. So I wouldn't want people to just suddenly, right, I'm living like this now. It's gradual, it's steady, because every time you do something that perhaps you didn't have peace about, you have a little think and reflect and think, actually, next time I'm going to do it slightly differently. It's a journey, and that journey can be a little bit winding. So how do you do it? Well, you need something a bit looser, something that fits your lifestyle. You can still have guidelines, but keep the lines blurred and adjust it slightly as you go. So within my programs, I might refer people to something like an 80-20 chart, where you draw a circle, mark off an 80 and a 20 section. And then when you eat something natural, put it in the 80 slot, something processed, put it in a 20. And then roughly try and balance your week like that. So there's no lines where you're like, oh no, I've blown it, I've got one more tick in that now. It's just a very rough guide. Or you can use something like the can-do plan, which is very positive and helps you to focus on doing positive, enjoyable things. And again, I wouldn't want you to tick it all. It's just like roughly tick like 60-70% of things. There's so much more I could talk to you about. There's so many different reasons why we overeat, or why we don't have freedom in this area. One of the most common is a bit like when you get a flat tire, and instead of mending the tire and carrying on, you actually go around and slash all the other 4 tires. And that's a bit how we can be sometimes. I remember when I did Weight Watchers and I was on, I think, 20 points. And then maybe I went over a little bit to say 23. And instead of thinking, oh, that's okay, that's nothing, I'd be like, right, okay, well, I'll start again tomorrow. But for tonight, I might as well go for it, because I've kind of got permission now to eat whatever I want, because I've already gone over the points. And we self-sabotage ourselves sometimes when we get close to a goal, sometimes when people start complimenting us, sometimes we just don't know why we do it. But often it comes down to limiting beliefs that it can actually happen for us, and limiting beliefs about God as well. And there's so many different areas that I can explore with you to work out why you're overeating. But it's a journey, like I say. So the takeaways that I want you to take from today are: please your health, not the scales. Use your environment, not your willpower, and make your wagon more comfortable. If you remember nothing else but just those 3 things, then that will be wonderful, and I'm sure it will really, really help you. So where to from here? Let me ask you a question. Would it be worth continuing our journey together if it allowed you to remove unhealthy roots and establish healthy ones? If it allowed you freedom in this area of life once and for all, and if it saved you time, money, and stress trying to find a solution in the future? If you could stop going around this mountain and work out what's actually going on, the reasons, and then move forward. So introducing Healthy, Whole and Free, which is my 12-week breakthrough program. I've got so much more I can help you with, and I'd love to give you 12 weeks of concentrated time so that you can get the foundations right and get the benefits for the rest of your life, and so that we can work out what's really going on for you and break any unhealthy habits and develop new healthy ones, and tackle the obstacles step by step to gain a healthy balance for the rest of your life, so that you can eat what you want, when you want, and be healthier. So who's Healthy, Whole and Free for? Well, I believe it's for you if you connect with me, if you get on well with my teaching, because I'm the teacher. And if you're ready to move forward in this area and to just spend a little bit of time and effort making a few adaptations so that you can move forward in freedom. It's probably not for you if you're just too crazy busy and it's not a priority for you at this moment in time, and you'd rather just stick with what you're doing. So let's take a sneak peek. There's weekly group teaching and Q&A. So this is on a Monday at 6:30, but if you can't make it, then I will hold you accountable for catching up with the recording, and we can have a little email or chat or whatever to make sure you're following it. a portal that contains Bible studies, question sheets, tips, tools, and information to expand on the weekly topic that we go through, daily Bible verse directly related to the course straight into your inbox, which people have found really, really helpful. A private Facebook group, which I'm in a lot, and weekly accountability to any goals. My signature can-do plan, so I just mentioned that, where we can turn any negatives you've had into positives and help you to do those most of the time. An optional buddy system. We've had some wonderful friendships come out of these buddy systems, but it's not for everyone. And small group support, again, optional to share the journey with. There's a 12-minute exercise plan, which is transformational. If you do 12 minutes exercise a few times a week, but you just start with once, then that can really transform your body shape. And another secret of mine is that I do resistance work, so muscle work for body shape change, and I do cardio for emotional health. So this 12-minute exercise plan is just using your body weight, and it can be really, really transformational. There's lots more exercise and workout videos, recipes, and free live online exercise sessions, which happen 4 times a week. And if you want the plate of plenty, which I'll talk more about, then that's half price. There's a glimpse of the portal and a badge picture of me there. So you've got all the different modules, and you can delve into this and discover more. Start date, Monday, the 26th of September, 6:30. And these are the modules that we look at. So we look at foundations to freedom, getting the foundations right so that we can move forward. And a lot of that is looking at our beliefs and our belief system and how we see God's involvement in all this as well. Breaking the dieting mentality. So we undo what you've learned in the past, and we come to accept that food is great and food is good, and food doesn't have these negative connotations that perhaps we've put on it. Conquering cravings. So I've switched things up a little bit, and I'm actually doing a whole module this time on conquering cravings so that you can reach that plateau where you don't have to use your willpower and motivation all the time. Changing habits, overcoming self-sabotage, ending emotional eating. So those are all dealing with our eating behaviors and really getting to the grips of what's going on, to the root of what's going on. And then we move into the tools section, motivation and mindset, fundamentals, nutrition and exercise. So it's not until this point that I even mention any kind of guidelines around what we should be eating and the movement we should be doing, because I want it to be yours, to come from you and from God, not from me. And then I share a lot of tips on meal planning and shopping so that you can save money on that. And then we look at cooking for others, out of the norm, those special occasions, and then celebrating success and moving forward. A few words from others. I've been so mindful of what I'm eating. I'm still losing weight as my clothes are getting looser. God is good. I feel at last he heard my cries for help through Healthy, Whole and Free. This course has really helped me to refocus on so many different levels with struggles I've been facing. Something must be working. I feel different. And I've lost 16 pounds already, and I'm not on any kind of diet. I feel fantastic. I genuinely feel like my relationship with food has been transformed. This course is life-changing. I recommend it to any Christian. During the course, I haven't eaten food in a negative context once, and I've lost well over a stone. And there's some videos on the website as well. You're probably thinking, how much does this cost? Well, it's £297 or £24.75 per week. I know that things are tight at the moment. I cannot bring down the price of the course. It takes a lot of time, a lot of hours from me. But I have introduced lots of bonuses to make it really, really worth your while. And if you can't pay in one go or per week, then we can work out something else. And there are bursaries available if you want to apply for one of those. And there's a 2-week satisfaction guarantee. So you've got 2 weeks to try it out. And if you want to, you can get your money back. Okay, so there's some bonuses included. So not only do you get all that I've talked about, but you get these bonuses too. So you get the End Emotional Eating mini course. And if you happen to have done this already, then you'll get it refunded. So this isn't anything I don't teach in the main course, but it's formatted differently into 6 little mini modules. And you also get an action pack and a Bible study. So you get that as a bonus. And then you get to join our Forever program, which is a membership group. And we have weekly success sessions where we meet together and we get some jobs done, we get some tasks done, we get some meal planning done, we get to tidy a cupboard or a drawer, and we come back together at the end proud of what we've done. So you get those for free. You get a bonus module, super spices and herbs, which is the foundation to cooking from scratch. And you get a bonus module, Tight on Time, which has got some fun things like the 50-minute housework method and the smartphone compulsion test in it. And you get free access to any Healthy, Whole and Free boost sessions that run during the course. So these are open to people who've done the course before and want a little bit of a top up. Plus, if you register before 8 o'clock this Sunday, you'll receive these amazing things. So 3 videos, reducing body fat, intuitive eating and intermittent fasting. And then worth £44. And then you get this amazing book bundle, Face to Face by Jen Baker, where she looks at the story of Moses and what we can learn from him and his encounter with God. The Glucose Revolution, which is all about keeping your blood sugar levels steady, and Atomic Habits by James Clear, which really unpacks that, making things more obvious, more attractive, easy, and one more thing. And that's worth £42. And on top of that, you get 4 50-minute coaching calls with me throughout the course, which is worth £60. So all those things are worth £146. So that's what I'm doing to help you in this season, is to giving you extra value. So if you register by 8 o'clock on Sunday, you get those things for free. Okay, so you must register before 8 o'clock. So this is the link if you need it, which will be sent out in an email as well shortly after this. It's bit.ly/HWF course, and it is case sensitive. So it's capital H, capital W, capital F, capital C. Okay, so to those of you who are watching later, this is where we leave you. So thank you so much for listening, and well done for getting to the end. And I really hope to speak to you soon. Okay, take care and goodbye.